Hey everyone, welcome to my library. My name is Melissa, and today we are doing a cozy check-in. This is being filmed at 8 p.m. at night, if you can't tell by the really bad lighting. My kids are in bed, and I really wanted to finally film a video and catch up with you all. I know it's been forever. So yeah, I believe the last video I uploaded was at the beginning of December. So obviously it's been a while. And I really just wanted to check in and tell you guys all about what I'm reading, what I've been up to. So let's just get started. I'll start with the basic, check-in of where I'm at just in my personal life, I guess. So the holidays, those happened. It was really nice. We spent them here in Arizona at home, and it was very low-key and just kind of like no one flew in really, and so it was just my nuclear family, and then we also spent it with my in-laws who live near. And yeah, it was really nice. Really good Christmas, and it was really fun to see the joy in Sam's face at everything, because he finally kind of understood Christmas this year. And so yeah, he loved knowing Santa was coming, and opening presents, and just the magic of the season, and going to see Christmas lights and all the things. So it was fun. And then January rolled around, and we went through a really tough time with Lily passing. I know I posted about that on my community page, but just in case you didn't see that, yes, Lily had some health problems. Why is the lighting getting so yellow? Let's see. Maybe that's better. So yeah, Lily had some health problems, and it was a very fast decline where basically within a week she went from where she was at a normal kind of old dog stage to like it was very obvious that she was in the last stages, and it was very hard to accept that. But anyways, yeah, I know that a lot of you posted on that community post very supportive and kind and thoughtful things, and I read all of them, and it was so good to just have I feel like such a support around that. And also everyone that has dogs or pets just in general goes through it, and so it's a really hard inevitability, but all the good years you have is what makes it worth it. But yeah, so we still miss her all the time, every day. Sam, it's been interesting how he's processed it too. He's almost 3, but he asks, where's Lily? And he's been noticing her absence more recently, which is interesting. I think he's kind of at the point where he's like, okay, why isn't she back yet? Why is she gone forever? What does that mean? So anyways, but Butter's doing good. We've been doing a lot of things to help her to adjust, getting a lot of doggy play dates with cousin dogs, and just being extra loving with her, and so that's been good. She's sleeping behind me. You might be able to see her if I move. Oh no, my chair's covering it, but that's okay. Yeah, so that happened in the beginning of January. Then about a week later, we ended up going back up to Utah where my family lives and doing kind of like a Christmas 2.0 up there. So that was really fun too. So cold, snowing, freezing, but it was fun to actually have that experience because obviously in Arizona we do not get that, so we don't get the seasonal feels. So it's always nice to go up to Utah where they do, and I get what I need from it, you know. So always love going up there. And then we got back last Wednesday, and then it's been back to kind of the same old with going to work and getting adjusted to you know, getting back into the swing of things with busy season approaching for me. So there's that. But yeah, so that's honestly kind of where things have, like how things have been going for me. It's been hectically busy, but that's the status quo now for me. So yeah, it is what it is. And with that all, I have been doing reading. It's been slow, but it's been consistent. So there's that. So I was gonna kind of talk about the 3 books I've read this January, and go over, you know, what I'm planning to read for February. So in January, I started the month off listening to Landline by Rainbow Rowell, which is a reread for me. And wow, it was so good. It was a 5-star read. I listened to it on audio and it hit so different this time than the first time with where I'm at in my marriage, because it's a second chance romance about a marriage that like 18 years kind of later after they've gotten married and them kind of rekindling, and it's all about like a landline. So it's about Georgie and Neil, and Georgie is the heroine, and she ends up having to stay in LA where they live. She's a screenwriter. She's a comedian, like comedy screenwriter, for this TV show. She ends up having to stay there instead of go to Neil's family's house in Nebraska for Christmas. It's a Christmas story. Anyways, so yeah, so he ends up going with their 2 daughters to Nebraska, and she stays home in LA. And so they're obviously separated by that, but then there's the emotional separation that's happened, where he's kind of thinking that she's put her career before their family a lot. And so anyway, so there's kind of this fraught tension between the 2 of them. But it goes basically where Georgie she ends up going over to her parents' house a lot, who also live in LA, and her mom's house. And they have a landline, and it's in her old bedroom, and she uses it one day to try to call Neil, and he picks up, but it's actually Neil from the past, like Neil when they were dating seriously. And so it's all about how she kind of like rekindles her love for Neil by talking to old Neil, or young Neil, I guess is more what I should say. It's so good. So it's got that like tiny little of a like magical realism situation to it, but it honestly, it was just magical listening to this story. I really like Rainbow Rowell as an author. I love Attachments by her. That is a 5-star favorite of mine. I actually really want to reread it. But she just does romance so well. And for me, it was just, not that I have, let's be clear here. It's not that I have like a fraught marriage or anything like that. It's just that like now that I have 2 kids as well, and there's a whole complication involved with that. And then, just having been married for 10 years now, it just, that book, it was the perfect time to read that book, because it just like helped me remind myself of like how much I love my husband too, and how far we've come. So it was so good. So that's the first book I read in January. I started it obviously during the holidays because it is a holiday book, but then I finished it in January. It took me that long. Okay, so then the next book I read is, I'm so excited to share about this book with you guys, is this book right here, No Angel by Penny Vincenzi. So this, I think I've already hauled this book, but this book was written in the early 2010s, I want to say. Let's see. So it's not like an old book. No, sorry, 2000. So it's 25 years old, but it is a World War I historical fiction family saga based in, the majority of it set in England, and then just a little bit of the family also lives in New York. And it is just all the drama and the inner workings of the family and how they run this publishing house together. It's the Littons, Lytton, their publishing house. Not that that's a real publishing house, but how they maneuver making sure that the publishing house stays afloat. The main character, the overarching, I would say, driving force of this book is Celia, who is the, I mean, she's the one that starts the book off, but she marries Oliver at the beginning of the book, and she, I don't know how much to like give away right now, but she basically comes into her own of like what she wants in her career. She ends up being pretty much like the main voice of Littons for a while Oliver is at war. Oliver serves in the army, and so she's kind of head of the company, and it's her and her sister-in-law, so Oliver's sister, LM, they call her, them two working together, and then she has kids, obviously, and their personalities. There's a lot going on in this book. It was so good. It was like the perfect book for me. So I will say that, like, if you're not into family drama, if you're not into family sagas like me, which I know like is a very niche thing, you may not want to read this book, because it's not really like historical fiction in the very classic book sense. I feel like there's this one is very much more focused on the family than on the history, but it's there. But yeah, it's like Downton Abbey in a book, but very much more like working class, I guess, even though they're rich. I don't know how to describe it, but anyways, so good. So good. I gave this 5 stars. I literally, like, it was how many pages? Almost like 600, so 600 plus pages, and for me to finish this in a month is pretty good for me, considering how big it is. But yeah, I flew through this book. I just could not put it down. It was so good. So highly recommend if any of the things I just said about it kind of intrigue you. The writing was so well done, just easy to read, and kept me wanting to know more about the family and the characters. I loved LM as a character. She was such a powerful, like, force, but also she just had such a, like, frailness to her too, like sensitive. and like she goes through a lot in this book too, and I love her. So she was probably my favorite character other than Oliver. I really like Oliver. But oh yeah, and their son Giles. I love Giles. Oh yeah, all of the characters are just so fleshed out, so good. So yeah, there's this book that I read as well. And then the third and final book I read in January is the matrimonial advertisement. I almost said advertisement like I'm British. Advertisement by Mimi Matthews. So I gave this book 4 stars. I loved it. I really, really enjoyed reading this book. I read it and listened to it kind of back and forth. And this is all about, it's a historical romance. It's set in the Victorian times, which is unique for me to read from. But yeah, it's set in the Victorian times, and it's all about this man who obviously posts a matrimonial advertisement to marry a wife, and then she responds to it and then shows up, and you know, it's like first come marriage, then comes love kind of thing. But there's a lot more to it than that. This story was all, there was so much plot in this story compared to like a lot of historical romances. I don't know how to describe it, but like there was just so much going on, especially with Helena, the main girl in the story. She has this whole backstory that is very interesting and sad. She gets put up in a insane asylum for no reason and has to go through torture, honestly, and terrible things because she refuses to give up her birthright, basically, and her uncle is evil. And so she's on the run basically from him, and that's why she ends up marrying the hero in the story in like a flash, because she just wants to get as far away from her uncle as possible. And then they first actually fall in love in letters, kind of, and then they meet in person. But yeah, he's one of those heroes that's brooding, and he's injured from the war, and you know, he thinks he's unlovable, and he falls so hard for Helena, and the story goes from there. So it was really good. I've actually struggled with Mimi Matthews in the past with her traditionally published books. I think I tried the Belgrave one. I can't remember what it's called, but like it's her more famous series. I tried those, and I was not, they're like about like women who ride, like are like equestrians or something. I tried the first book in that series. I DNF'd it, and I was really sad about it because I wanted to love it, because I really love her. The first thing I ever read from her was her Christmas novella, Holiday by Gaslight, and like that floored me. Like I loved it. And so I was like, oh my gosh, Mimi Matthews, my new favorite author. And so I tried to find anything else by her that I could read, and I definitely recommend this over some of her more recent stuff, I guess, or just more like traditionally published things. This was so good. And I want to keep going in the series for sure. So there's that. And yeah, so those are the 3 books that I read in January. And so then now February has rolled around. It's already February 4th. Crazy. And it is the Retro Romance Readathon, hosted by my two of my favorite booktubers, Storm Reads and Sarah from the Bookish Knitter. And the whole concept being that you read retro romances in February. I think the first 2 weeks of February, if I'm not mistaken, which I'm all about, obviously. And so I am participating. I started a book February 1st because I wanted to wait until February to start it for the readathon. And I am listening to These Old Shades by Georgette Heyer. I love Georgette Heyer. She's a favorite author. of historical romances. She wrote in the 20s, like in the early 1920s, 30s, and she is the most Austen-esque writer, in my opinion. Like, I wish that I could find someone akin to also her writing. Like, it's so good. But it's obviously because written so long ago. They're very clean romances. And this one is a story set in France, which is new for me, in like 17th century France with, wigs and white powder and, all the things. And it is all about a duke who has a vengeance against this count who has wronged him. And this count has a very particular, it's kind of far-fetched, but he has this very particular color of hair that's very unique. And then as the duke, the main hero, is walking the streets one night, this like street urchin, he comes across the street urchin and he sees that the street urchin has the same color hair, and he's like, how did this happen? Like, anyway, so he ends up buying this this orphan, basically not an orphan, but this destitute child from her. Oh, I spoiled it, but it ends up being that it's the heroine's, like, she's a girl, and he doesn't know that she's a girl until a while in the book. But he ends up buying this child off of her brother, and turning her into a page, into his page. And so it's kind of like how do I describe this? It's like My Fair Lady, kind of, where, he's transforming her from something, improper to proper, but also he's falling in love with her at the same time, and discovering that she's a woman too. But that I actually just got to that part where he's learned that his page is a girl. So yeah, it's gonna get good because he still wants revenge from this count, and he's learned the lineage behind her, and so he knows that she is related to him, and so there's gonna be some sort of plot intrigue with that. So we'll see how that goes down. But I'm really enjoying it. I'm listening to it on audio, and the narrator is doing such a good job. I can tell he's probably either speaks French or is French or something, but he just pronounces things like so quickly, and so like effortlessly, that even I'm like glad I'm listening to it and not reading it, because reading it I would be struggling. So yeah, so that's what I'm listening to. And then what am I reading physically? It's gonna come as no surprise after what I just said, but it is the second book in the Lytton family trilogy. So, or I guess this is called the Spoils of Time trilogy. So this is Something Dangerous by Penny Vincenzi, also a chunker. This one is actually longer than No Angel. This one is like close to 700 pages, but still enjoying it, right back at it. So this is obviously kind of like the Next Generation story. So Celia ends up having twins, and it's the main focus of this story is the twins and how they go through life. And I'm sure World War II is going to be part of the story based on the years, and I think it's going to be a lot more about like how the twins kind of have to come down a level because they're raised in this really rich family, and already they've been kind of thrown some curveballs that have been humbling for at least for one of them. And so I think that's what's gonna happen here. And I'm eager to find out more. So yeah, so I'm reading this book. And then what else do I have to discuss? Oh, okay, one more thing I'm wanted to say. So if I get through with These Old Shades, I want to pick up another retro romance, and I'm debating between these two, and I want your opinions down below. They're very, very different. One of them I'm convinced I need to read from Mitzi. She has mentioned this book. I've had it on my shelves for a long time. And that is Song of Years by Bess Streeter Aldrich. This is a prairie love story, and I'm sure it's clean. And I guess it also is set in during the Civil War as well. And the main hero in the story's name is Wayne, which is awesome because that's my son's name. But yeah, Mitzi has sung this book's praises recently, and it has really pushed this book up my TBR. So there's this one. Or second choice is a book I bought solely off of one comment that I got. Someone commented it on a video of mine and said they had read this book, When the Splendor Falls by Laurie McBain. And I looked it up and knew it had to be mine and I needed to read it. This is also actually Civil War set, and obviously this one's a lot more of a bodice ripper, historical romance. This one's more of a kind of like historical fiction / romance, but very different books, but both books I think I will really like. So they're both pretty big, but I'm not intimidated by that, as you guys know. So let me know in the comments below which of these two you think I should read. That'll be the topic of hot debate. Okay, and I think that's it. Thank you guys so much for listening to my rambling today. I'm wanting to be in the booktube community. It's very hard to find time sometimes to film, but I so enjoy watching booktube. I literally don't go a day without watching booktube and watching everyone else. And what I want to know, I'm just as nosy where I want to know what everyone else is reading. So please let me know down in the comments below what you're reading, or how your year has gone so far reading wise. If there's any standouts of the year, I would love to know. But yeah, with all that being said, please like and comment and subscribe if you want to see more from me. And I will see you guys in another video. Bye!